April 10th, 2023. The shot heard round the basshead community. DD Audio posted their logo in the Sundown style, saying, "Often imitated, never duplicated." Now, this may get you riled up or this may get you excited depending on if you are a DD Audio fan or a Sundown Audio fan. But if you're like me and you like both, you want to know which one is actually better. So I have two of their entry-level subs. I have the Redline High Def Tuned coming in at $119. I have the Sundown LCS version 1, which originally sold for around $99. I think this will be a good comparison. Now, Sundown does have the LCS version 2 that has a little bit beefier stuff at a more comparable price of $119 to $129, I believe. That being said, we are comparing the version 1. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it and see who has the best entry level subwoofer. Yeah, I just want to be the greatest. All right, so let's check these two out side by side, and you can tell there is a difference. The Sundown LCS definitely sits up a little bit higher. The logo, you just got the simple Sundown logo here, and you got the DD logo here. As far as looks, that goes up to you. I do like the look of the new DD logo. I think it looks pretty cool. The Sundown logo is also pretty cool in its own right. Before we check out the motor structure on these, let's talk about some of the key specs. Now, if you know me, you know I love my cue cards, so I've got these specs written down here. Both of these have a 2-inch voice coil, so that's pretty standard in their price point. Both of these are rated 300 watts RMS. They're comparable in that sense. The Sundown has an FS of 33.4 Hertz. The DD Audio has an FS of 33 Hertz. The Sundown has a sensitivity of 87.4 dB. And the DD Audio has a sensitivity of 89 dB. Here's where we get into some differences. The Sundown has a 14mm one-way X-Max. The DD Audio has an X-Max listed of 8mm and an X-Mech rating of 25mm. The DD Audio also has a 55-ounce motor. The motor weight is not listed for the Sundown, but when we flip them over on the back side, you can clearly see it's bigger than the DDs. So let's flip them over, check out the speaker terminals, the tinsel leads, and the motor. Now we've got them flipped over, and you can see the Sundown motor is a little bit beefier than what you get on the Redline. The other things you might notice are the push terminals on the DD that accept speaker wire. The Sundown version 1 still has these old hateful connections here. Don't really like those, but they did solve that with the version 2, and they have these same style terminals as this, as well as some beefier tinsel leads on the V2. So if you're buying the new Sundown V2, it'll be more comparable to these style terminals with some beefier tinsel leads. Keep that in mind. I do not have the V2 here with me. I only have the V1, so that's why we're comparing these. With that being said, the V1 does have a bumped backplate with venting in the rear, no venting around the frame. The DD Audio has rear venting and perimeter venting right here. So let me get you a close-up shot of the tinsel leads. They're pretty comparable, and they're both sewn tinsel leads. All right, we're going to start off with the Sundown LCS. It is loaded up back there, as you can see. So in these tests, we're going to have about 500 watts on hand for each sub. That will be plenty. That's almost double what they're rated, in fact, but I know both of them can handle it. So let's start with a frequency sweep. We'll see what kind of SPL numbers we get. Now, we are completely sealed in here, except for a small crack in the driver's side door. That should give us a pretty decent idea of what these can do on a frequency sweep. This will not give us the best SPL numbers we can get off these. It's just something to compare the two with the same parameters. So let's do that frequency sweep, and then I'll do a few tracks and we'll kind of see what these subs sound like. One thing to note, I am going to have the sub level turned to 0. Typically in my normal setup, I have the subs down to -14 on the sub level control, and it balances out the system a little bit more. But in these tests, I want the sub to be more forward, and we won't have our mids just absolutely screaming at us. So with that caveat, let's go ahead and get into the testing. All right, this is the frequency sweep on the Sundown LCS 12.
Move so instinctive, passionate. Move so descriptive, agitated. Better against people, patented. But I do that can erase all the past in the people say I cannot, I get
All right, we're back with the DD Audio Redline in here. We're going to do the same test. We're going to do the sweep, see what kind of SPL we get. I'm going to use the same 2 listening tracks so we can kind of see which one I like better. So without further ado, let's put it to the frequency sweep and see what kind of SPL numbers we get.
passionate. I move so descriptive, imagine better against people patented. Negative when you should be getting after it. Any negative thought, off when I people say I cannot, I get it. I'ma stay last, never now, never headed.
All right, I'm back with my final thoughts, and if I can tell you guys a little secret, I actually like both of these subs. I like both of these companies. I think that they make some great products. So with that being said, let's talk about the differences in the subwoofer. Now, if you want the loudest subwoofer that can handle a little bit more power, you're probably going to want to lean the Sundown LCS. It was a full dB louder, and overall in my testing, it seems to be able to handle a little bit more power than the Redline subwoofer. That being said, the Redline subwoofer is no slouch. It definitely can handle power. We had it on the same 500 watts RMS. It took that easily. I think, though, that you can push the LCS a little bit farther. As far as the Redline goes, I really love the sound of it. It is the high def tuned, and I think this is where the power handling comes in, because this subwoofer has a more compliant suspension, which makes it sound a little bit better to my ears. Although the LCS does sound pretty good as well, and I've said it in other videos before, so neither one of these subwoofers is bad sounding, but if I had to pick one out for SQ, it would definitely be the high def over the Sundown LCS. That being said, if my goal was to get as loud as I can and maybe put way too much power on a subwoofer, the LCS is your choice in that case. So I'm sure my answers here make the people who love one brand or the other more mad. But the thing is, both these subs are great for $100 and $120 subs. You're not going to be disappointed by either. So go ahead and pick up the subwoofer you like the best. As far as the DD Audio and Facebook post, you can make your own call on that, whether it was a jab at Sundown, whether it was meant to just be a funny style jab, or it was just, kind of a joke overall. I'll let you make the call on that. So I'm not here to settle that debate, but I just wanted to show you both the entry-level subs. I think they're both pretty good. And if I had to pick one personally out of these two, I would probably lean the Redline. In personal use, I don't do a whole bunch of real heavy bass stuff. I kind of have a more balanced system, and the Redline to me sounds a little bit better, so I would use that one. Now, would I use the LCS in my setup? Yeah, absolutely. But if I'm picking between the two, I would pick that one. Definitely the LCS has the edge on the power, so depending on who you are, pick your sub accordingly. And with that being said, I hope to catch every single one of you on the next video. And you might have noticed the new hat here or the new shirt. I've got some new merch. You can see it in the shop portion below this video, and I'll leave a link in the description below so you can pick some of it up if you want to. See you on the next one. I'd like to thank all my Patreon supporters, but the $6 or more members get a special shout out, and that is 2001 Monolithic, Gene Nava, Joaquin Juarez, El Fuego Audio, Travis McClendon, Brandon Hanna, William Berg, Boxboy Audio Sound Solutions, Jesus Tires, Dennis Cromwell Jr., Scott Dilbeck, D. Stewart, David Kozlik, Scott McCord, Matthew Tolberg, Cornut, Trucker 9000, Bobby Burkett, Kevin Lautner, James Childers, Baba, Thomas Marshall, Living Loud with Andy, Neil Nato, Chris Cogburn, Lars Madsen, and Old School Stereo. For as little as $2 a month, you can join the Patreon team and get exclusive Patreon-only content, including a monthly Patreon-only hangout stream. It's a really good time. You guys are missing out, and if you want to join, check me out at patreon.com/HifiVega.